Hey Finance Fam, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to cover the three main types of investment accounts and why you may want to consider having one of each. So when it comes to retirement planning, we really want to think ahead. And a lot of people sort of gravitate towards one type of retirement account and they stick with that. But believe it or not, it can be very helpful in retirement thinking about that strategy ahead of time to have multiple different types of retirement accounts so that you can pull different levers when you need to control your income better in your retirement years. So I'm going to talk about the benefits of each of the main types of accounts and some things to consider if you aren't utilizing one of these types of accounts. Basically, the three main types of accounts that you can have to invest in are going to be one, a taxable account, meaning there's no tax deferment or tax advantages here. You're literally just paying tax on money and then investing it in this account. Everything, including the dividends, are going to be taxable to you today. No retirement benefit, but there are some benefits that we'll discuss. The second type of account is a traditional account. This can either be a traditional 401k, a traditional IRA, a traditional 403b. Those are the main accounts that are going to be your quote unquote traditional accounts. The third type of account is going to be a Roth account. This is going to be your Roth 401k, your Roth IRA. Roth accounts are all up in the social media these days. Everybody's talking about how you have to get a Roth account. And I'm going to touch on the pros of Roth accounts, which there are many pros of Roth accounts, but I'm also going to talk about why someone may not want to consider a Roth account, at least for some of their retirement money. So taxable accounts are really awesome for multiple reasons. You're not getting tax benefits by utilizing one of these because you have to pay taxes on the money. But what you are taking advantage of is long-term capital gains tax rates. Long-term capital gains tax rates are actually very favorable compared to short-term capital gains tax rates. So the idea is you have a taxable brokerage account that you invest money in, and here's what you get by doing that. A, you get to take advantage of long-term capital gains on assets that you hold for more than a year. And I'm thinking in this type of account, I like people to hold assets for many years. Like my taxable account has assets in it that I'm going to be holding for probably over a decade or longer. So that's the idea. The longer you hold them, they compound. You don't pay tax on the gains until you sell those assets, but the dividends that you're getting paid along the way get taxed at preferential tax rates for the most part if they are qualified dividends. So that's why taxable accounts are awesome because A, you are taking advantage of long-term capital gains rates, which are more favorable than ordinary income rates if you were doing a IRA where you have to pay taxes in retirement, and we'll get to that. And B, you can access the money anytime. So if you have any ideas of retiring early, you're going to want to have access to some taxable brokerage account money because that money you'll be able to tap into without any penalties, nothing like that because you've already paid taxes on it. It's just a regular brokerage. That's what I like about that. And also I like the flexibility for investments that you have in a taxable brokerage account. And you literally can buy anything you want. You can buy CDs, you can buy bonds, you can buy stocks, you can buy ETFs, mutual funds. So you have a lot of flexibility, and that's what I really like about the taxable brokerage. Now, let's move on to a traditional account. So a traditional account is something that your traditional 401k or traditional IRA, the money that goes into those types of accounts gives you a tax deduction in most cases. For 401ks, that's going to give you a tax deduction. There's no limitation on a 401k if you're going to get a tax deduction for your contribution or not. However, if you are contributing to a traditional IRA, there are limitations if you have access to a retirement plan at work or a spouse has access to a retirement plan at work. There's limitations to how that contribution is going to be deductible or not. So that's a little trap to be aware of. 401k, no limitation to your deductibility of your contribution. IRA, traditional IRA, there could be a limitation to the deductibility of your contribution. So keep that in mind. Here's why I think these are great accounts. If the last dollar of income that you have is taxed in one of those higher brackets, your 37% rate, your 35% rate, if you have income being taxed at these rates, then you are going to want to be looking at a traditional 401k type of account. You may make too much to be able to deduct a traditional IRA contribution if you have access to a plan at work, but if you don't have access to a plan at work, that's not going to be a problem for you. So a lot of people just go straight to Roth and they think that's the best choice for them because they pay taxes now, but they don't pay taxes on the gains in retirement. And they love that tax-free aspect of a Roth account. And for people that make too much to contribute to a Roth, a lot of them do these backdoor Roth conversions to be able to get money into Roth, or they'll do a Roth 401k where there's no income limitation to contribute to it. But what you don't want to do is get too caught up on that and not think about what tax rate you're paying, meaning what average tax rate you're paying, because you don't want to be giving up a tax deduction that you could be getting by utilizing a traditional 401k, for example, and giving that deduction up because you're wanting to utilize Roth. And really what you're doing is locking in a higher tax rate than maybe you need to be locking in. So a lot of people don't think about it that way, and they just think Roth, tax-free, best option for me. That rhymes. But that's not going to always be the case, and you really need to be thinking about what tax rate you're paying today, and do you really think that you're going to be paying that same tax rate in retirement or not? And if you are thinking that you will be paying that same tax rate or higher, then going Roth is a great strategy. But keep in mind that the way the math shakes out is if you end up paying the same tax rate in retirement that you paid when you put the money in the Roth, you actually didn't get really any benefit. It would have been the same whether you done the traditional or the Roth, keeping the tax rate paid in retirement versus when you made the contribution the same. So it's a wash, basically. So really, the people that benefit the most by utilizing that traditional account are going to be people that are paying higher tax rates. Their last dollar of income is being taxed in those higher brackets. So their average tax rate is probably going to be a little bit higher. Those are the people that are going to benefit the most from using a traditional type of retirement account. I personally have utilized traditional for many years because I've been pushing those higher tax brackets. And so I've been able to control my tax bill. And I realize that when I get into retirement, I'm not going to need the same amount of income that I'm making today. So it's a strategy that you really can think about for the long run. Okay, so let's move on to the Roth accounts and why Roth accounts are awesome. Roth accounts are amazing, even though I was just saying before, it may not be right for you depending on your situation with tax rates, but Roths are really cool if you do have the ability to contribute to one by A, making under the amount, B, having the right effective tax rate for Roth to make sense. So when we talk about Roth, we're talking about either a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA. Keep in mind, Roth 401k, there is no income limitation to contribute to it. Roth IRA, there is an income limitation to contribute to it. So with that said, Roth is amazing if it's something that makes sense for whatever your effective tax rate is or your average tax rate is today. That is the key with choosing between traditional and Roth accounts is what is your average tax rate today, and are you happy locking that tax rate in? So here's why Roth accounts are so cool, because they give you so much control when you're in your retirement years over your income. So basically, when we have a traditional or Roth retirement account, with the traditional account, you have to take what's called required minimum distributions. And this used to be at age 70 and a half, you had to start taking required minimum distributions from your traditional accounts. The government wants their tax money eventually, and you got a deduction for putting it in. So that's why they require you to take it out so that you pay taxes on it. Now, Secure 2.0 just passed, and that age has been pushed to 73 for making required minimum distributions. Here's why the Roth is cool. There are no required minimum distributions. So with the Roth, you've already paid taxes on it, you did your duty, and basically the government is saying, all right, we're not going to hound you for this. You don't have to pull the money out if you don't want to. And the money could stay in until you pass it to your heirs if you wanted it to. So that's what's cool about the Roth is there are no required minimum distributions, which lets you keep the money in for as long as you want and compound for a longer time. Compounding for a longer time means more dough, right? So that's why people really like Roths. And I love Roth. I have a Roth. I haven't been able to contribute to it a lot, and I haven't been able to really do conversions because of my tax rate really pushing into that higher end. So it didn't make tax sense for me, but for a lot of people, it can make a lot of sense. So here's a story. I know of a retiree who had to sell some real estate, and when they sold that real estate, they had a capital gain, a hefty capital gain, mind you, on top of income from pensions that they have to pay taxes on. So basically, the gains on the sale of this real estate has pushed their income way higher, and now they're pushing into a higher tax bracket for a chunk of their income. Not all of their income, but a chunk. That's how tax brackets work. When you're pushed into a higher bracket, it's not on all of your income, it's only on that portion that gets pushed into that bracket. So if this person needed more money to fund healthcare expenses or something for a grandchild or whatever the case may be, if they needed more money and they needed to pull out money out of their assets, but they didn't want to boost their taxable income, that's where the Roth comes in and gives you that flexibility. They could pull money from their Roth. It's tax-free as long as it's a qualified distribution and you're over the right age and, all the qualifications are met. You can pull the money out of the Roth and use that money to fund whatever it is you need to fund in retirement without pushing your taxable income higher. If that was a traditional account and you pulled money from it, it would push your taxable income higher. So that is the general idea with the Roth. Okay, so just to recap why these three accounts are good accounts to have and to give you the flexibility that you need going forward into retirement. Your taxable account, it's taxable. There's no retirement benefit, but there are tax benefits, so to speak, because you can hold assets in the account for more than a year, years and years, maybe even decades, and have that money compounding and investing, and you can pull it out later utilizing long-term capital gains rates. And also qualified dividends, if they are qualified dividends, which typically most dividends that you would get from basic investments like ETFs and individual stocks are going to be qualified dividends. These dividends have preferential tax treatment as well with those long-term capital gains rates. Plus, you can take the money out early. The reason why you'd want a traditional type of account is because this is going to give you a tax deduction today. You may be in a situation in a given year where you could really use a tax deduction. And that, my friends, is where the traditional accounts come into play. Now, keep in mind, if you have lower tax rate years, you're probably going to want to push towards Roth. But when you have higher tax rate years, you're probably going to want to push traditional. And then going into the Roth, we like to have the Roth account because it gives us flexibility in retirement. And what you can do is you can have a traditional and a Roth, and however your year goes, if you have a really high income year or a low income year, you can contribute to either or maybe even both based upon what happens in that year. Business owners, freelancers, entrepreneurs, that strategy is going to be very helpful for you because typically we have variable income that changes from year to year. So that's a benefit by having both. It gives you that option and that flexibility to choose and control your tax situation if you need to. The Roth gives you a lot of flexibility if you have to pull money out in retirement and you want to control your taxation. All right, Finance Fam, curious to hear if you have any questions on any of this content. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed so you don't miss future videos about how to manage your money and strategize taxes better. All right, Finance Fam, I'll see you next time.